This is KGW News at noon.
Thanks for joining us here at noon. I'm Drew Carney, and we're starting our newscast with kids as young as 12 getting COVID shots because that could happen by the end of the week. The FDA is approving the use of the Pfizer vaccine for children as young as 12. Next up, the CDC's advisory committee will look at the data, and it's expected that the committee will also give it the green light. Many parents, though, still aren't sure if they should get their kids vaccinated. So with that in mind, Dan Haggerty verifies the facts about kids and COVID.
A Kaiser Family Foundation poll shows only 29% of parents will get their kid vaccinated right away. 32% want to wait and see, and 15% say only if schools require it. 19% say they definitely will not get their child vaccinated. When it comes to how serious COVID is in kids, there are a couple of numbers to look at. First, COVID deaths in children are extremely rare. Less than 300 have died during the entire pandemic. But kids can suffer severe symptoms. 15,000 kids have been hospitalized with COVID, according to the American Academy of Pediatrics.
We've seen kids as young as 3 months of age hospitalized with COVID in an intensive care unit on a ventilator, and they got the COVID from one of their family members.
In addition to them getting sick, children can also spread the virus, of course. The latest data from the CDC shows far more COVID cases among children than seniors right now. Experts say the more COVID spreads, the greater the chance it could mutate and make the vaccine less effective. That will ultimately hurt our chances of reaching herd immunity or something close to it. 70 to 90% of the population needs to be vaccinated to reach herd immunity, and census data shows kids make up 22% of the population here in the U.S. Finally, here's the raw data from the vaccine trials. Pfizer tested the vaccine on more than 1,100 kids ages 12 to 15. Early results show none of them got COVID. Moderna, they tested the vaccine on 2,000 kids ages 12 to 17 and found it was 96% effective.
Well, even though more people will be eligible for the COVID vaccine soon, the 3 biggest mass vaccination sites in the Portland area are set to close next month. The drive-through sites at the Portland Airport and Hillsborough Stadium will both shut down on June 25th, and the one at the Oregon Convention Center will close 6 days earlier on June 19th. Demand for the vaccine is slowing down, and it's more widely available at this point at smaller clinics and neighborhood pharmacies. At one point, though, the convention center gave shots to as many as 8,000 people a day. We've seen that number quickly drop, though.
Well, now we're doing more in the range of 4,000 to 6,000 a day. So it has become clear that the total numbers coming in, as I said, is starting to drop, which is a good sign to us that we have done a good job of covering the many Oregonians who chose to be vaccinated in this way.
The website getvaccinated.oregon.gov has an interactive map. You see it right here. It shows all the places where you can get a COVID shot in the state right now. Again, that's getvaccinated.oregon.gov. 2 more universities in Oregon are requiring students and staff to get the COVID vaccine in order to come back to campus in the fall. The University of Oregon and Western Oregon University made that announcement yesterday. There will be exemptions for medical and religious reasons, but as an incentive to get the shot, Western Oregon is offering students a $25 gift card to the campus bookstore if they show proof of vaccination. The university is also hosting the largest vaccine clinic in Polk County.
We're just trying to encourage them to do that so when they go back to their communities, that's as safe as it can be. Because I want to see the students come back and have that college experience.
Other schools that have already said they'll require vaccinations for the fall term are Oregon State, Portland State, Lewis and Clark College, and Willamette University. Governor Kate Brown is going to speak later this afternoon to give us an update on the state's response to COVID and the next steps in reopening. She's holding a news conference at 1:30. We'll carry that live right here on KGW. We'll also stream it on KGW.com, the KGW mobile app, and all of our social media platforms. Across the entire country, hospitals are dealing with a nursing shortage right now. The issue actually began long before the pandemic, but the COVID crisis has only made it worse. The Hospital Association and Washington State Nurses Association says it really comes down to a lack of nursing faculty at universities. Plus, only about half of the people who apply actually get accepted to nursing schools. On top of that, there's the fact that a lot of nurses are simply overworked.
Nurses left the profession. They said, this is not what I signed up for. They were sometimes felt not treated correctly or just completely overwhelmed. You feel like you're in a war zone.
Well, many hospitals and healthcare facilities are providing mental health services for nurses who have had to work throughout the pandemic. Time to take a break from the news headlines and catch up with our buddy Rod Hill. So Rod, we're taking a look outside downtown Portland. I believe they call this picture perfect for a May day in the Portland area. What do you got weather-wise, my friend?
I went out to count clouds about 5 minutes ago. I finished my work early. There are none out there over downtown Portland. Weather systems continuing to hold out to sea. There really was not a marine layer even this morning along the beach, so it's been a beautiful sunny day there as well. Look at our Cannon Beach camera. Just absolutely gorgeous weather. 54 degrees, should at least get up to 60s. Parts of the beach could be maybe 62, 63. I caught this wildfire smoke on the camera at Aspen Lakes Golf Course looking south at the Three Sisters. The Deschutes National Forest, they have done a number of controlled burns this spring. They did more yesterday, and that is a controlled burn I have confirmed this afternoon. So that activity continues over in Central Oregon, where temperatures will be well up into the 70s today as well. The downtown temperature in Portland, 63. So we're on track to get up to about 76 this afternoon. Yesterday it was 71. So you'll notice that 5-degree increase. Still 70 at 8 o'clock. All right, 7-day forecast coming up, and also we'll talk about what the latest models project in terms of rain ahead in the coming weeks, which we could use any drop we can get. Back to you.
All right, Rod, absolutely. More from Rod here in about 6 minutes. But right now we want to get to another local headline. We're talking about the damage from February's ice storm and how it's going to cost the city of Salem about $4.6 million. The Statesman's Journal said the money will be used to repair infrastructure and clear down trees. The city has already spent more than $1 million on cleanup. While more funds are still needed, there is a significant portion of the storm recovery costs that is expected to be reimbursed through insurance or federal funds. One of our big national stories today, the growing gas shortages in half of the U.S. after a cyber attack crippled an essential fuel pipeline. The 5,500-mile Colonial Pipeline was shut down last Friday. NBC's Tom Costello has the latest from a fuel tank farm just outside of Washington, D.C.
This is one of those fuel tank farms that we see is supplied by that pipeline that runs up the East Coast. But with the pipeline dry at the moment, the fuel levels inside the tanks starts to drop. So it's going to be critical that they get this operation back up and running as quickly as possible. Colonial Pipeline believes it should be able to reopen the pipeline by the end of the week. But in the meantime, we're already seeing spot shortages of gasoline, especially in the southeast. North Carolina, for example, where the governor has already declared a state of emergency. We had long lines at gas stations yesterday and last night. In some cases, gas stations reporting they were really running low on fuel. The longer that this extends, the longer that this lasts, the more likely it is that we're going to see a price run up at the gas pump. 3 to 5 to 6 cents a gallon increase is what we expect at the moment, probably more in the southeast. And then as this heads over into the weekend, if Colonial can get the pipeline back up and running again, hopefully at that point prices should stabilize. But we will likely be at or above $3 a gallon, which is the highest we've seen gas prices since 2014. I'm Tom Costello, NBC News in Fairfax, Virginia.